Nehemiah chapter 2, verses 17 and 18. When you have it, say amen. I'm going to be reading from the King James Version, the New King James. It says, "Then I said to them, you see the distress we are in, how Jerusalem lies in waste and its gates are burned with fire. Come and let us build the wall of Jerusalem that we may no longer be a reproach. And I told them of the hand of my God, which had been good upon me, and also the words of the king that he had spoken to me. So they said, let us rise up and build. Then they set their hands to the good work." I want to talk from the subject today. It's time to build. Look at somebody and tell them it's time to build. It is very interesting that we live in a world where they say that there's a shortage of money, but every time you turn around, something is being built. New malls, new homes, new communities, new places to live, new shopping centers. There's a whole lot of stuff being built, but yet in certain cases and times they tell us that there's not a lot of money for the full need. But when you look at the construction process, you will see that things go from process to process, from one thing to the next. Building a building does not take place overnight. Building a building does not take place normally within a week's time span, but there is a time, there is an order. In fact, if we look at, in some cases, they actually have a projected time in which the building is set to be finished. And the reality of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, there is a time process that God has ordained for the life of the believer. There's a time process that God has ordained for us. And our reality is that many of us are in different stages and developments of growth in our lives. Watch this. But it's important that we continue to stay connected to and in the process. One of Satan's biggest works in your life will be to get you discouraged in the midst of the building. I'm going to say that again. His desire is to get you discouraged in the midst of the process. This is the reason why you cannot compare yourself to other people, but God will allow you to model, amen, yourself after what Jesus is and what Jesus said, because it is he who is not only the wise master builder, he's also the blueprint. Lord have mercy. I'm going to say that again. He's not only the wise master builder, but he is also the blueprint. And so therefore it behooves us, and we need to take it necessary to find ourselves patterning our lives according to the structure and the instruction of God's word. And the reality of the matter is, today you and I may be at different levels of growth, but God has one purpose for us in mind, and that is for his work to be completed in us. He said, I would not leave you and I would not forsake you. And he is committed to his word. He is committed to his promise. But the reality is this: we have to be committed to the process. If there is no commitment to the process, then there will not be a completion of what has been designed. I'm going to say that again. If there is no commitment to the process, what has been designed will not be completed. Amen. Here we have in our story today, of course, I talked about this a few weeks ago, and Pastor Dan is going to elaborate on this as he takes us into this series on Nehemiah in the future. Nehemiah has now surveyed the damage and the ruin of the wall of Jerusalem. He has surveyed and he has seen that the thing that was supposed to be in place to protect the city is now in ruin. My question for you today is, how does your wall look? What does your wall look like? How does it look? Has it been ruined? Has it been damaged? Has it been burned? Has it fallen apart? Because where there is no wall, there is no protection. Can I say that again? Where there is no wall, there is no protection. And unfortunately, many of us, our lives are cities without walls. And the Bible said that a man who cannot control his spirit is like a city without walls. Anything can come in and anything can go out. Walls indicate boundaries. Walls indicate protection. And where there are no boundaries and there is no protection, watch this, the city is in a place to where it can be sieged and taken over. God never intended for your life to be in a place to where somebody can come in and wreak havoc. And your enemy is counting on the fact that you refuse to survey the damage of your wall. Come to church, we sing, we shout, but we have damaged walls. We lift our hands, we say amen, but we have damaged walls. And I'm going to say this today. I'm glad that we have a good group of people in church today, because normally when people find out that the pastor is not going to be there, they don't come to church. And if you can only come to church when the pastor is there, that's an indication that your wall is damaged. Nehemiah gets the news that the wall is damaged. His heart breaks, and he goes and he surveils it. He goes and he looks. He goes and he examines it. Watch this. But in the midst of him seeing ruin, he also has a vision of restoration. Watch this. Just because the wall is damaged, that doesn't mean that's the way it has to stay. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor it doesn't have to stay this way. Y'all not saying it with no conviction in your voice. Look at somebody and tell them it doesn't have to stay this way. I know it looks bad, but it doesn't have to stay like this. I know it looks crazy, but it doesn't have to stay like this. I know it looks out of order. I know it looks wacky. Watch this. And I know you might be the cause of a lot of the damage, but it doesn't have to stay like this. Sees it. He realizes that it is what it is. Watch this. He does not try to paint a pretty picture of what's wrong. I just said something. He does not try to paint a pretty picture of what's wrong. In fact, the word he uses is distress, ruin, and reproach or disgrace. These are very strong words that have a very negative implication. Guys, this doesn't look good, but what I see in my spirit is greater than what I see with my eyes. Y'all miss what I just said. What I see with my spirit is greater than what I see with my eyes. My family looks bad with my eyes, but with my spirit, I see a mother and a father. I see children that are serving God and living for him. My finances look bad with my eyes, but I see in my spirit that there is more than enough to meet every need, because Jehovah Jireh is my provider. With my eyes, I see that there are people who act like they don't want to live for God, but with my spirit, I see men and women who will stand up and be counted for the cause of Christ and say, for God I live and for God I die. My eyes may see ruin, but come on here, but my spirit sees restoration. What does your spirit see that contradicts what your eyes see? Vision has to be greater than sight. And I teach like a prophet here today? Vision has to be greater than sight. Watch this. This is the reason why the Bible says we walk by faith, not by sight. Because what I see with my eyes can mess with my heart. Lord have mercy. But what I see with my spirit encourages my heart. Lord have mercy. And this is the reason why you have to be around people who speak the language of faith. This is the reason why you have to make sure that you eliminate all the crazy and ratchet and off the wall people out of your life, because their language is an indication of their heart. Because the Bible says out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. You cannot separate vision of the heart from language of the heart. Watch this. Jesus says, Mark chapter 11, whosoever shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed, be thou cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart, he shall have whatsoever he saith. I see the mountain by my sight. Watch this. But the mountain can't stay there by my faith. Lord have mercy. I see the problem with my sight. Watch this. But my vision, my spiritual vision says it can't stay like this. I see the sickness with my sight, but my faith says it can't stay like this. I see the problem with my sight, but my spirit says it can't stay like this. This is the reason why the church is in the business of teaching you how to cultivate your spirit. Because as long as you live with your eye, watch this, with the eyes of your mind, you will always see stuff in a ruined state. But if somebody can teach you how to live, come on here, in the recesses of your spirit, you'll be able to see stuff beyond what's seen. When God created Adam, I don't know why I'm going this way. When God created Adam, he created Adam a spirit being first. Why a spirit being first? Because your spirit man is the real you. What happened when the fall took place, when Adam bit the fruit? Watch this. The scripture tells us that their eyes were open. And then instead of man living from the inside out, he started living from the outside in. See, what you all don't understand is why we preach and we teach to you. We look at your messy and crazy lives. We're preaching to you about getting right, being healed, getting over certain things, getting delivered, coming and learning. Because as your leaders, we see what you can't see. We are in the business of surveying damaged goods and believing and knowing that what is damaged goods can go from damaged good to good good. So sometimes the reason why we can be a little bit strong when we talk to you, when we deal with you, is because like a coach, it is our responsibility to develop your ability to be able to play the game. And unfortunately, what happens is some of us, oh, I'm going to get in trouble. Thank you for the confirmation. Some of us are used to being under people who are not coaches but pimps. Because a pimp wants you to make him money, but a coach wants you to win. All right. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Today I'm going to give us 5 keys to build it. Now, when Nehemiah comes back, he's talking to the leaders. He's talking to the elders. He's talking to the people and authority with amongst the people. Watch this. Those of you that are parents, mothers, fathers, church leaders, ministry leaders, potential parents, potential leaders. This message is for you today. He talks to them in a format, and he's talking to them corporately. Watch this. In order for us to build corporately, we have to hear the same thing corporately. God. This is the reason why you can't afford to miss church. You can't afford not to come. Have mercy. You can't afford not to be here on Wednesdays and Sundays. Young adults every other Friday. Discipleship on Mondays. You cannot afford to keep missing the moments, watch this, where vision and purpose is being spoken. Because as long as you keep looking at the fact or keep understanding or rehearsing the damage, you will never be able to receive the truth about deliverance. So he's talking to the people. Everybody say he's talking to the people. Say it again, he's talking to the people. Talking to everybody. Everybody has to hear the same thing. Everybody has to hear the same thing. Because if we can hear the same thing, we'll be able to do what's necessary. Right? So the first thing that we'll see when we look at the text, or the first key to building corporately or as a corporate body is motivation. He tells them, we know it's ruined, but God's hand is on me to change the situation. He tells them it looks bad, but God's power, God's anointing, his ability can come on me and is on me to be able to fix or change that which is ruined. Without motivation, you will look at a ruin and you'll stay worried. Without motivation, you will look at chaos and stay in confusion. Without motivation, there will be no desire to move forward or to change anything. So the first thing that we have to realize today is that there has to be motivation in order to get you to move. One of the worst things in the world is to have people that need to do something, but they're not motivated to do it. Okay, like for instance, I'm gonna put myself out here, right? Don't laugh. I need to get rid of my gut. This. My problem is not that I know, it's not knowing what I need to do. Oh my goodness. The problem is I'm not motivated to do it. Knowledge without motivation will still leave you stuck. Say that again. Knowledge without motivation will leave you stuck. Motivation will allow you or gives you the gas to be able to accomplish the goal that you say you want to accomplish. All right, look at your neighbor and say you have to have motivation. Second thing, I'm getting ready to get in trouble with this one, is cooperation. Oh, I'm going to hang my hat on this. Just for a little moment. Everybody say cooperation. You cannot have a corporate work with uncooperative people. I'm just going to lay it out here. It's amazing to me how people see what needs to be done, but they become the inside enemy to the work that needs to be done. Your criticism doesn't change anything. Specifically, when you are critical with no ideas. Watch this. When you are critical and you refuse to position yourself for somebody to teach you or show you how to begin to get in the thing and work. For instance, we say that we want a building, right? Say we want a building. But do you not realize that in order to have a building, it takes work to maintain it? Who's going to work it? Don't tell me that you're going to be motivated to work in that when you're not even motivated to work here in the school. Why? If you're not cooperating here, where we're mobile, you're not going to cooperate when we're stable, when we're stationary. You cannot do this without the cooperation of people. And one of the things that is very grievous to those of us who are in ministry is the fact that we have an assignment to help people. Watch this. But the assignment is to instruct people how to help. Our job is to teach you how to help us and others. When people don't cooperate, progress doesn't take place. No, I'm not hollering just yet. Cooperation. When I was growing up, this is the way I grew up, we didn't get no allowance in my house. You get an allowance. You live here. You live here. You live here. Your responsibility is to go to school, do what you're told, clean up, and do that. Because everybody has to pull their weight in order for the house to be productive and maintained. Watch this. Watch this. And when children are in rebellion against their parents in a household, they are hindering the cooperation of the household, and it's causing the household to be dysfunctional. Especially when, watch this, you think that doing it your way is the best when you really don't have any money of your own. How is it that you have an attitude but you have no job? How is it that you have all this mouth but you don't have no money? Same way in the church. Same way in the church. People have a lot to say, but they have little to contribute. Your contribution will weigh more than anything else. Watch this. And I'm going to say this. And I'm going to say this. Need y'all to hear me. There's a lot of people who go to churches, they go to places, and they say, God sent me here. God sent me. I've been in this all my life. I've seen it. Oh, God sent me here. God sent me here. That don't move me. That don't move me. That doesn't move me at all. That doesn't move me at all. That doesn't move me at all. You say that God sent you here, but you don't work like he sent you. You say that he sent you, but you don't work like he sent you. Watch this. Watch this. Lord, I'm ready to get in trouble. And for those of you that say that you want to be involved and want to be, you want to get involved and do something, watch this. You getting involved also means you getting trained. Because cooperation has to be done intelligently, not loosely. We talk about ministry. We're not talking about walking around your neighborhood and passing out flyers for a lost dog. And it's amazing. You'll find people that will cooperate with that for the sake of pity because they're animal lovers, but they're not lovers of God's creation. That what the Bible said, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Not understanding that the very thing that you make happen in a ministry, watch this, I need y'all to hear me, is the very seed that God will use to help get your unsaved family members saved. I want my family members to be saved. Okay, well, get submitted and get connected to a place and cooperate, and you'll have a place to be able to bring them when God does deal with them. Here's the reason why you don't bring them. Your neighbor say you have to cooperate. Number 3, dedication. 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 Why is dedication necessary? Because when opposition arises, if you're not dedicated, you'll quit. The church is the only place that I know where people want to be hot for a moment. But then when things start going contrary, when things start coming against them, when all hell breaks loose, they want to drop what they were doing and run. They don't do that on jobs. Because I'm getting money. Well, this produces an eternal way to glory. This is going to give you an incorruptible crown. Dedicated to something that will perish. But easy to give up on something that's going to give you a reward in heaven. You have a priority. Where there is no dedication, there is no development. This is good teaching. I know I'm not hollering. Where there is no dedication, there is no development. What do you do that when you make a decision to begin to serve God and work for him, and now everything comes against you? Because if you're not committed, you'll forfeit. You'll forfeit. The Bible said the one who endures to the end, that's the one who's going to be saved, not the one who starts. Jesus said, if you continue in my word, you're my disciples. You'll ever see a shooting star or a comet? Blazes, and it dies. We have comet Christians. Watch this. Can I tell you something? Some of the stuff that we go through, some of it's really more mental than it is action. We don't face the persecution like some of our other brothers and sisters do. Other nations of the world. Well, they're glad, Lord, I'm getting ready to say something. Well, they're glad to show up in a place that you come too late. And if they're caught with a piece of the Bible, they're either tortured or killed. You have it on your phone and you won't even take it out while I'm preaching. Read it. We don't go through half of what they go through. But every time something little comes up, oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. You stop being a mother because you can't do because something happens. Do you stop being a father because something happens? Hello? Because when you're dedicated, watch this, dedication is connected to purpose. People who know their purpose are people who are dedicated to it. And this is the reality of the matter, ladies and gentlemen. As long as you keep coming to church and just thinking that somebody's supposed to feed you and bless you and lay hands on you and make you feel wonderful so you can fall out and cry and do it all over again the next Sunday, you've missed it. This is not the babysitting club. It's the discipleship development center. Dedication is necessary for building. What do you think would happen if the contractors stop building the house that you live in? You won't be able to live there. Watch this. What do you think happens in a church and a ministry where people stop working? What do you think happens in a home, watch this, where the husband and the wife stop working on their marriage? What do you think happens in a home where the children and the parents stop getting along with each other? Dedication takes sacrifice. And the reality of the matter is, most of us are only willing to be involved to the extent of our convenience. How is it that you can see ruin and be content with just looking at it? How can you see problems and be content just looking at it? How can you see crazy stuff and be just content looking at it? Dedication. Dedication says that my commitment is greater than my convenience. Because my work is going to get me something. Maybe not everything here in this life, but there is something that's being stored up and waiting for me in the next. And that way, when I close my eyes here, open my eyes there, I can hear him say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." The good and faithful servant is the one who hears him say, "Well done," not the one who starts but never completes. He doesn't say good start. He says well done. He doesn't say well start. He says well done. That means that the mission has been accomplished. The assignment has been fulfilled. That's what I mean, right? Fourth thing, position. Write this down. Placement is necessary for productivity. I'll say that again. Placement or proper placement is necessary for productivity. When you go to a construction site, everybody has a different part to play, but they have the same goal. Everybody has a different part to work in, but they all have the same goal in mind. If you don't get in position, if you don't get in proper placement, then you are not allowing yourself to be able to play your part in the construction. Now, in order for these people to play their part in the construction, they have to show up to work. Showing up is more than just being bodily present. Because some of you all have showed up with your bodies, watch this, but you're still on vacation with your mind. And nothing that God is going to do in your life is going to take place with your mind being in la-la land. Everybody say position. When you read the book of Ephesians, when you read the book of 1 Corinthians, it talks about the different pieces of the body being jointly fit together. It talks about them being set in place, being set in order. Why? Because if the body is not set in proper order, it's going to be dysfunctional, and the body is not going to be able to carry out what's necessary. What has God called you to do that you refuse to position yourself for it? And maybe the reason why you're frustrated is because you're fragmented. Has anybody in here ever had a dislocated shoulder? Don't feel good. It's miserable because it's not designed to be loose. It's designed to be attached. I missed it. See, the problem is you're trying to run from people who are designed to help you fit. This is the reason why we preach and teach like we preach and teach, because our responsibility is to show you how to fit in the kingdom. But you have spent your life fitting in the club. Some of you spent your life fitting in the bedroom. Some of you have spent your life, hello? Some of you have spent your life fitting in the bar. You've spent your life fitting in the drug house. Watch this, young people. You've spent your life trying to fit in the trap. And so because you've spent your life trying to fit into something that was killing you, it hurts for you now to be molded to fit into something that's going to change you. Hello? Everybody say position. You can't do my job and I can't do yours. But once we get in our rightful position, then the thing that we're called to do, we're supposed to do, is going to work, and everything's going to flow, it's going to function, and at the end, we're going to have the finished product. But without the right position, you won't have the finished product. You will have an ongoing problem. Some of you are called and anointed by God to work with children. Some of you are called and anointed by God to work with you. Some of you are called and anointed by God to do various things, but you refuse to get in position because position requires process. Position requires process. And the process is you're going to have to now be willing to allow somebody to come into your life and help you get some structure in order because you've been chaotic. One of the worst things they see is a chaotic person who's religious. So that's the worst thing in the world, because they have the language of the church, but they have the productivity of a blank sheet of paper. They're loud with no fruit. They're great in their own eyes. Watch this. And I'm going to tell you how to identify them. You identify them when you start being able to deal with them according to the order of God for them. Then they scatter. They scatter. They run. Hello? I say position. I look at somebody and say, get in your position. Woman's getting ready to give birth. Watch this. The sign that you know that she's ready, or one of the ways that you know that she's ready, is that the baby gets in position to come out. Watch this. If the baby doesn't get in position, here I'm getting ready to say, it's not that the baby can't be born, but measures have to take place to go inside of her to be able to pull the baby out. So watch this, the complications cause her more pain. What you don't realize is you're only hurting yourself by staying out of position. You're only hurting your own walk. You're only hurting your own purpose. You're only hurting your own destiny. Watch this, by being breech, baby. With your feet first and not your head. That's the reason why some of us get in trouble, because we put our feet where our head should be. Do now, think later. That's an immature person. Number 5, action. Each worker on a construction site has their own set of tools that are pertinent to the position that they must play, or to the position that they must work in order to construct what needs to be built. Where is your toolbox? And if you have one, does it have tools or is it empty? Your toolbox. Where's your toolbox? Hello? Because in order for something to be built, you have to have the right tools. Watch this. And it's not just about having tools, you have to actually use them. The problem is, some of us come here Sundays and Wednesdays or whatever, and you're given the tools, but you don't work the tools. And then when you look at your wall, you still see your wall incomplete. The using of the tools is an indication that the thing that needs to be done is being accomplished. So where there is no use of the tools, the thing that needs to be done will not be done. God is not in the business of giving us tools, but you're not working them. Neighbor say it takes action. It takes action. Which means, watch this, that the action has to override your emotions. The action has to override that phone call, that text message. Hello? The action has to override your stubborn will. Because the way you deal with disobedience is you begin to become obedient. There is no prayer to cast out disobedience. I don't care how much oil. I don't care how many prayer cloths you get. I don't care how much you have somebody spit on you when they pray for you. If you don't apply and move into the thing that God is saying, your life will not change. And stubborn people stay stuck. Why is nothing happening? Why is nothing going on? Why my life isn't moving? You're mad with the world. You're mad with God. And I still, well, this is a question that I have. And I know we all have questions about why God allows certain things. This is my question. How can you be mad at a God that some of you don't even serve? You have no right to be upset with him. You don't even know him. You may know about him, but you don't know him. How dare you? He made you. I gotta say that. How dare you? We all hear about the story of Job, right? Watch this. But did you keep reading the story? Job got upset with God. Watch this. Watch this. Job got upset with what God permitted to happen to him. And you know what God told Job? Where were you when I laid the foundation of the world? Where were you when I put everything in its place? I know you may be upset, but the reality is that I'm God and you're not. It's very interesting to me how people, watch this, they get mad at a God who they refuse to understand. If you get a relationship with him, you'll know his ways. The problem is you're too busy having relations with something. And your intimacy and activity with somebody carnal is hindering your relationship with him. Hello? Everybody say action. Say it again. Say action. We say we want a building. We say we want this. Let me say this, and I have to clarify something. Because people have the wrong perception of church and ministry. Okay? People have the wrong perception. Right? There's like a silent competition between churches, people's perception of church, where people choose their churches like they choose their restaurants and stuff like that, or their favorite grocery store. You like this particular restaurant because they have this. You like this grocery store because they're customer service. Church is not like that. It's not like that. Okay? Hear what I'm getting ready to say, people. Hear me well. Hear me. There are certain churches that have more stuff to offer because they have the resources for it. Right? They have state-of-the-art this, they have state-of-the-art that. Right? Okay. Now, we're not hating on that. That's just a reality. Correct? And it is not that certain places don't want it. They just don't have the resources for it. And the reason why they don't have the resources for it is because in many cases, the people refuse to work to get to that place. And the reality in some places, I'm getting ready to get in trouble. People many times like to go places where they don't have to work as hard. And so what they'll do, they'll compare churches, watch this, but they won't get in position to change things. Just being real. I'm just being real. Just being real. Action requires availability. If you're not available, you'll be unusable. If you're not available, you'll be unusable. The problem is, watch this, we talk about action, but where are the people who put things in action? Learning how not to have 5 minutes. You didn't jump, you didn't scream, you didn't holler. I wasn't supposed to. I was supposed to teach you this today. Some of y'all fall asleep over there. That's why I had a good cup of coffee. Keep me up. I only got maybe 3-4 hours of sleep myself. Watch this. People, when you read verse 18, the Bible says that the people agreed about what should be done, but then they worked what needed to be done. Agreement with no action is disagreement. Agreement with no action is disagreement. The Bible said that they strengthened their hands. They got busy. They got involved. They stopped talking and they started walking. They stopped complaining and they started contributing. Hello? They closed their mouths and they picked up a tool. Why? You read the next verse towards the end. You keep reading the story of Nehemiah. You had some men that were enemies from the outside that were not happy that people want to do something for God. Watch this. And the building of the walls was not just for them, it was for the generations to come. What we're doing, what we're teaching here, is not just for you. We just sent a whole group of them to children's church. They're in there. They're back there. They're learning the tools on their level. Watch this. But they need parents who'll be able to build the wall to protect them. They got busy. Put their hands to the work. The Bible said that it was a good work. In other words, it was worthy for them to work it. If you find no value in what you see, you will find no worth to work it. Whatever you value, you will work to maintain. You either work to get and you'll work to keep it. Having a place for your children to come and experience God doesn't mean anything to you, then you'll come to church. But you won't take anything home and begin to build the wall of your home. Hello? If you don't think that us having a place where people can be trained and discipled and mentored to become men and women of God, men and women who will be able to send out to different places. Look at all these flags in here. Wouldn't it be nice if we had people that we can send to these different nations? I know every second Sunday we support missionaries that are part of the house that we have adopted. Watch this. What about people who were trained in the house that we can send? I was growing up, there were people that we trained up in ministry, and they got a burden for certain countries, and they went there. And guess what they did when they went there? They began to implement what they were taught so they could teach the people in that nation how to build their wall. Whatever you learn today, you're designed to teach it to the next generation for tomorrow. If you refuse to build your wall, don't think that they're going to build theirs. And guess what? Don't get mad at them when they repeat your cycle. Because you didn't give them an opportunity to do something different.